We are going to get you caught up on breaking news here of a small plane that crashed into a neighborhood in Tierra Santa. You see the destruction to this neighborhood here. Thank you so much for joining us. You are now on CBS 8 Plus, our streaming channel. We're glad you're with us. I'm Netta Iranpour.
I'm Eric Connor. Glad you are streaming with us on this very busy Thursday. This all started at 3:45 this morning near the intersection of Sample and Salmon Street. We have many reporters at the scene right now. A small plane crashed into a neighborhood. It then careened down the street, lighting multiple cars on fire, damaged several homes. Everyone on board that aircraft was killed. This is what it looked like shortly after it broke out from a Ring doorbell camera as this homeowner was trying to put out fires on his property. We know that multiple fatalities have been reported. We do not know the number. We know that the plane holds 8 to 10 people. We are unsure how many people were on it, according to investigators. We know 3 people on the ground had to be hospitalized. 2 of them were treated and released.
Right. This plane coming from Wichita, Kansas into Montgomery Field. That was where it was headed, to Montgomery Field, which is about a mile away from the scene of this crash. It was foggy throughout the morning. Of course, NTSB going to be looking into why this crash happened. We do have a team of reporters bringing you the very latest updates from the streets right there. We're going to start off with CBS 8's Chris Groh. Chris has been watching many families impacted by this. We know about 100 of them told to get out of their homes in the early morning hours. Chris, while many are still sleeping with young children, what are you seeing there now?
Yeah, it's been incredible to see, and also just kind of heartbreaking, right? Because you have these families who are sticking close together. They're making sure that they've got their loved ones, the little ones, that they've got them close, but then you realize they've got nothing with them, and we don't know when they're going to be able to return. You don't know when you see them at first until you talk to them whether or not it's been their home that's been damaged, that may have caught fire. So you try to empathize with that, but then you also then try to get a better understanding of what it is that they saw, what it is that they learned, and what it is that they went through. Now, what we are seeing right now is actually some of these residents have been able to get in and get their cars. So this is actually happening live right here, guys. This is not video. We are seeing that some of those who were not able to retrieve their vehicles are now being allowed to get in to get those cars, which of course are going to be so necessary, whether they have work, if these are the civilians, if these are family members of those who are in the military, they've got to get their kids or maybe other ones to family members, friends, and so forth. Now, there have been a number of people that have been reaching out to help, especially with these families. We know the YMCA has been handing out water, offering a place for people to kind of hang out. Miller Elementary, which has closed for the day, as well as Hancock Elementary, they have been acting, Miller that is, as a actual evacuation center for those who don't have anywhere to go. But this YMCA area was essentially the first staging. This is where we met so many of those people. This is where we were able to find those Ring cameras and so forth. So a lot those Ring camera videos. So there's been so much that's been going on here. We have not seen anyone able to go back into their homes to repopulate, would be the term. That is not being allowed at this moment. But I am told by a city spokesperson that that could be happening today, that those whose homes have not been impacted, so it's likely going to be those had no damage, no debris strewn across their yard, so forth, or were not involved with any type of jet fuel that may have been not lit up or again was just exploded there from this plane crash. They're the ones who are going to be first allowed into their home. When that time will be, we're not sure, but we're talking about close to 100 people right now who are displaced because of this plane crash. As we wrap things up here now at this scene, we're going to continue to check in. We're also going to continue to monitor, see exactly when it is folks will be able to go home. But for now, we'll send things back to you guys in studio.
Okay, all right, it's been so tough to see these military families packing up in a very short notice, having to get out, bringing their pets. The pets have been shaking. It's been difficult to see our military community members having to go through this.
And many of them lost cars in this, too. We should point that out. Multiple cars. At this point, we don't have an exact number. But what really struck me is one of our interviews, Rachel, who was there, she said, we live paycheck to paycheck. To lose a car, that's their way to get to schools. That's their way to get to work. And of course, these are Marines, sailors who live in this military housing area of Tierra Santa off of Santo Road. And, this is going to have a long lasting impact on them, not just the shock of what they just witnessed, but now the damage that they're going to be coming back to.
One of the first reporters on the scene, CBS 8's Regina Yarita, has been watching all of this unfold, has been standing by, hearing from all the investigators on all of the updates. Let's check in with Regina and see what the latest is from her vantage point. It all started there, right behind you.
That's right. And Eric and Netta, you guys pointed out this is going to be a long-lasting impact. I mean, just looking at the damage here, you can see, right, the destruction. And it's heartbreaking to see. We've been here for hours now. We're in the middle of a military neighborhood, and this is most likely a home of a military member and their family. And seeing the destruction here is painful. You're looking at that plane, the damage that it has on that plane, and certain parts of the plane just scattered throughout this street. But now that we got confirmation and we're learning more about how many of these families living here, no one was transported to the hospital. Now we're learning a little bit more of what they noticed, what they had to experience earlier this morning. Take a listen to a man that we interviewed just hours ago.
The window and just saw fire all the way down the road. It was like kind of a dull explosion, just like fluid going up, pretty much in flames. I looked out my window, saw everything, grabbed both my kids. Then I started to come out the front door. When I came out the front door, I heard like pop, 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 pop.
Just to hear it and then go that way and then walk that way.
And the man you just heard is a part of the military. When we interviewed him this morning, he was grabbing breast milk and diapers and heading back to the evacuation center. Around that time, we also noticed police officers who were helping dogs who they found inside these homes. Some of these homes that were obviously suffered a lot of damage. With the San Diego Humane Society also reporting that some of these dogs had jet fuel. They had jet fuel, so they're currently taking care of some of these dogs that were pulled out and put onto those carts and then pulled out of here. We also noticed the mayor. He was here about an hour ago. He noticed the damage and was debriefed on what the next steps are. But as far as the scene, there's still certain parts that are still smoldering. There's about a dozen vehicles that are charred and damaged. We've seen vehicles with their windows blown out. There's certain vehicles that have the paint has been peeled off just by the heat of the plane. But if we can come back out here, I want to show you just the corner home. This is one of the homes that really did suffer the most damage. You can see that roof practically collapsed. It's charred, and that truck completely unrecognizable, and debris all over this home. I want to once again point out this is really hard to kind of just be standing here because this is someone's home. This is a military community. It's a tight-knit community, and seeing that, they had to go through this. They're currently going through this, and some people are displaced. Hundreds of people evacuated. It's definitely going to be a long-lasting impact here, but right now, this is the scene. We've been covering this all morning. I'm going to send it back to you.
Okay, so that's where the plane went down. It spiraled down to the middle of Sample Street there where it came to a rest. It exploded, and the cars that were just to the south of it were also on fire, not necessarily from the impact, but the jet fuel that was streaming down the gutter there.
Yeah, to think flames going down the street because of the fuel. For that part of our coverage, we have CBS 8's David Gottfredson. David, it is remarkable to see. I've never heard of such a thing happening, but you have the images. You've talked to the people. Tell us what's been going on there, where you are, and how far are you from the crash site?
We're about 3/4 of a block away from the crash site. We are at the west end of Sample Street at the intersection of Taussig. So we're downhill 3/4 of a block from where the plane crashed. But the fuel came running down the gutter and caught all of these cars on fire. And it was a river of flame coming down here. We have some images that some of the neighbors shot. Hold on just a second. Let me see what's happening here. Okay, so let's come over here for a second. This Captain, what are you up to here?
We are just keeping an eye on this street right here, Sample Street. Some cars were impacted by the plane crash. Everything seems to be out. A little bit of smoldering, but we're not concerned about any reignition here. And we were just helping out some of the neighbors with some of their personal belongings that they were not able to grab when they were hastily evacuated from their homes in the morning.
All right, thanks, Captain.
You're welcome.
All right, bye. Anyway, sorry to ambush the captain there, but he went up to a house a minute ago, and we interviewed him earlier. A resident here who does not want to be on camera here with her young child lives on Sample Street, and she sent me a photo at 4 in the morning, but she was worried about her dog, an American pit bull dog, pit bull dog, and it was still in the house. And that captain who just was on camera here went in the house, shot some video of the dog, showed it to her, said the dog's fine, put the dog out in the backyard with water, and the dog was as friendly as can be. Another resident of Sample Street just came up here. She needed her medication, and the firefighters went up and got her medication. And she was concerned about her vehicle. She wanted to drive the vehicle off, but they wouldn't let her do that. But she also had dogs inside her house. And the firefighters went in there, came back and said the dogs are fine, they have water, and they're just going to leave them inside the house. So, yeah, residents are showing up here again now that the scene is a little quieter from when the crash happened. And they're worried about their dogs, and they're worried about their vehicles. So, and the firefighters are helping them out. Really, I mean, he shot video of the dog and brought it to the military wife here, who's here with her, 2-year-old son who is crawling all over her. But she doesn't want to go on camera. Her husband is deployed, but their dog, Taj, Taij, I think it's spelled Taj, their dog, their pit bull is fine, and we have video of it. We'll show it to you later.
Oh,
Wow.
So many inspiring stories.
Yeah.
People helping each other out, people caring for each other's animals. David was talking about some of the photos he was getting from neighbors, residents. This one and these images say a lot here. This is shortly after the plane crashed, the balls of fire, the lines of cars being lit up. But it was that first image of a river of jet fuel that was on fire, just going by these cars and setting them on fire.
Right. I mean, to think that, the fire wasn't contained to the crash site where the plane ended up. It spread because of fuel flowing down the street.
Right.
On that main street where this crash happened, there on Sample Street and Scopen. We know the plane did tumble down the street and, obviously burned cars on both sides of that street itself. But then the fuel extended a block away. There's a good friend of mine who saw a car charred on Tassig and Yorktown, which is a block and a half away from the crash site. Around the corner. Yeah, to think the widespread damage. These vehicles are, what people count on, obviously, to get where they need to go. So our military families certainly have been dealt with a lot this morning.
We're thinking of you. We know the community will come together for you, as we have done in the past. This was a plane that was supposed to land at Montgomery Airfield at 3:45, coming from Wichita, Kansas. We all drove in shortly before that, and we noticed thick fog that was out there. NTSB, FAA investigating. They'll determine what led up to it. But Evan, you were saying it was pretty thick stuff at that time.
Yeah, less than a mile of visibility, which usually denotes dense fog. In some cases, less than a quarter mile of visibility. Now, here's the thing. The time difference from when this crash happened, about 5 hours ago, versus what we see right now, shows how improvements have been made pretty much across the board in terms of visibility. You could see those numbers have started to improve steadily. But we still see some reduced visibility in areas like Kearney Mesa and in Miramar, which are the closest monitoring sites that we have to where this crash took place, right now at about 5 miles and 7 miles respectively. If you get all the way down to Imperial Beach, we're at about 3 miles of visibility right now. That seems to be the most troublesome location on the map here, which has been pretty typical. Most of the last several mornings, if we've seen any issues, they've been from about downtown San Diego down through the international border, and that seems to be the case again today. But again, that trouble spot extended this morning all the way up through about Miramar. Even Carlsbad was having about half a mile of visibility around that 5 a.m. hour. Fallbrook, the same situation. So this wasn't a patchy fog situation. This was a across the board, all coastal communities, just kind of a blanket layer of fog that pushed onshore and inland. Here's a live look outside. You could see how there is still plenty of cloud cover that we're still going to be working through over the next several hours. We earlier saw that cloud base and that cloud ceiling had an immense separation. And what that means for us is is that any planes coming into or out of San Diego International are going to see that thick layer of clouds, and it's thicker than normal, meaning that there's a longer duration when that plane is making a landing or taking off between when it sees the cloud layer and when it's in the cloud layer. That cloud layer this morning was immensely deep, and that could have, again, we don't know for certainty, but we see that it could have played a role in why that crash took place. Satellite radar imagery showing how that marine layer has pulled its way back steadily over the last couple hours, but it was no match a couple hours ago, stretching all the way through our inland valleys. I'll show you a zoomed in view of what we're seeing, and you can actually make out how that marine layer has started to pull its way back and how we've started to see improvements in that specific crash site versus what we see in proximity to Montgomery Field. Now, Montgomery Field is not far away at all from where this crash took place. Here's the northbound and southbound 15. Arrow Drive exit is where that crash was. You follow Arrow Drive west, and you get to Montgomery Field rather quickly, within just a few minutes of driving. So what that means is that this plane was making its arrival into Montgomery Field. It was coming westbound. We, again, don't know how it ended up in this specific location, but it likely involved some confusion in this area regarding where that runway was, or perhaps an emergency landing. So we, again, are going to be seeing those officials that are on scene trying to come to that conclusion, trying to gain that information as to how this crash site could have happened in such close proximity to Montgomery. Second thing to mention is that that cloud layer has been pulling its way back, so we're going to see more and more sunshine, but what we have to keep in mind is that for mornings to come, that marine layer is just going to rebuild itself. We get some breaks in the clouds for the remainder of your Thursday, and then take a look at Friday as that marine layer pulls right back on shore. What this also shows is that because of how thick that marine layer is, there's a chance that we even get some showers. So what that notes is not only how deep that marine layer could be, but also how in that depth we are going to have very reduced visibility, very cohesive cloud structure. We're going to be watching for those stronger cumulus clouds that could produce some showers along the coast and right offshore as well. So this is that future model as we push all the way through about Friday morning at about 5 a.m. and see that marine layer stretch all the way out to east of the 15 freeway. Again, 15 freeway, kind of a key locator in terms of where this took place and what we could be seeing for future days. Our live looks have been kind of coming in and out, but what we've generally been watching for is that that marine layer is starting to pull its way back from our live cameras. CBS 8 traffic shows where that took place. So zooming in specifically to this crash, we have now seen the exit ramp from the 15 northbound at Arrow Drive reopened. That means that you are able to head northbound and southbound on the 15. Just a couple hours ago, we weren't able to head northbound on the 15. So that was a hard closure at about the 5 o'clock hour earlier this morning. Now we're starting to see that traffic is improving. Volume is reduced here at 9 o'clock versus what we saw at 7 and 8 a.m. And we see that exit ramp now back open from the northbound 15 to Arrow Drive. Where you're still going to encounter difficulty is at Sample Street. Sample Street and Salmon Street are closed both ways because of this aircraft that made this crash landing. So we are going to see that fire crews are likely not allowing even residents in the area back into their homes at times. Taking a look at today's forecast, we'll get the sunshine on hand again, 71 degrees out by the coastline, 82 inland, but watch for more fog as we get into tomorrow morning. Ned and Eric, it's doubtful that this is just kind of a one-day thing. It is very likely that for mornings to come, we'll still encounter that dense layer of fog by the coast and inland. Back to you.
All right, Evan, really appreciate the updates weather-wise here. We did hear from some of the officials, the chief, assistant fire chief, and the mayor earlier, but he did just release a statement to us.
Yeah, Mayor Todd Gloria just releasing this statement saying in part, on behalf of our city, I extend my condolences to the families and loved ones of those aboard the plane. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the San Diego Fire Rescue Department, San Diego Police Department, CAL FIRE, and military police for their swift, coordinated response that quickly evacuated residents, extinguished fires, and secured the area to ensure this tragedy was not compounded. He went on to say San Diego will support the Navy as they assist these residents affected by this tragedy. We know there are several Navy families there that live in this military housing neighborhood, and many of them, their loved ones are deployed right now, likely getting word of what's been going on there.
We know there's 100 people who are displaced right now. They are at Miller Elementary, and coming up as our live team coverage continues here on CBS 8+. CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal is at the elementary school talking with some of these families who have been evacuated. We will have her live report after a quick break.